I want to try and understand something you mentioned very briefly, which is the strategic importance of not just the equity stake, but the partnership on technology, and not just for NVIDIA, but for America. Why are you moving into this domain?
We announced a brand new platform for a new market we've never been in. And so that's number one. If we take advantage of this transition from general purpose computing to accelerated computing, from old types of software to AI, we can take advantage of this transition of AI and 6G for America to win back telecommunications.
For decades, the world's communication networks were built by giants, names like AT&T, Ericsson, and Nokia. But somewhere along the way, America lost its edge. The backbone of global telecommunications drifted toward foreign suppliers, and innovation slowed to a crawl. Until now. Because Jensen Huang just announced something that could completely flip the balance of power, not just in tech, but in geopolitics. NVIDIA is teaming up with Nokia to rebuild the world's telecom infrastructure using AI, accelerated computing, and 6G technology. And this move could change everything. At NVIDIA's GTC event, Jensen Huang revealed a partnership that no one saw coming. A collaboration that fuses NVIDIA's AI supercomputing with Nokia's global telecommunications reach. He said, "For the first time, America can build telecommunications networks on American technology." That statement hit hard, because what Huang is describing isn't just another upgrade in wireless speed. It's a return to technological sovereignty. For decades, America's communications hardware has been powered by non-US companies. Now, for the first time in years, an American-led alliance could bring that dominance home. Here's the vision. Combine NVIDIA's accelerated computing with Nokia's AirScale base stations, which power millions of cell towers around the world. That means NVIDIA's AI systems will be embedded directly inside global telecom networks. If that sounds small, think again. It's like installing a supercomputer in every cell tower on Earth, capable of processing real-time AI tasks at the speed of light. This changes the game completely. I won't just run in data centers anymore, it will run inside the network itself.
And it's been a long time since the American telecommunication network has been built on American technology.
Fairly profound happened this year, actually. You look, in the beginning of the year, everybody has some attitude about AI. That attitude is generally, this is going to be big.
National security, I believe.
For national security reasons, for economic reasons, our industry should be built on American technology, and for the very first time, we can do that. We have a brand new product line.
It's going to be the future, and somehow, a few months ago, it kicked into turbocharge. And the reason for that is several things. The first,
that takes advantage of computing, accelerated computing, and AI. And we have a great partner to help us do it with, Nokia.
Is that we, in the last couple of years, have figured out how to make AI much, much smarter. Rather than just pre-training.
The market reaction kind of speaks for itself. There was a time when Nokia was already looking to America. You've been in the role since April.
Pre-training basically says, let's take all of the information that humans have ever created, let's give it to the AI to learn from.
But may I start by asking you what role the administration played in bringing you both together, if this is indeed a strategic priority?
It's essentially memorization and generalization. It's not unlike going to school back when we were kids.
I don't think there was anything specific that the administration did, other than they've created the environment to support innovation. I mean, Jensen's talked about manufacturing.
The first stage of learning. Pre-training was never meant, just as preschool was never meant to be the end of education.
Innovation and technology leadership. And if you think about where this world is going, and all those incredible devices are going to be built on NVIDIA platforms.
Pre-training, preschool, was simply teaching you the basic skills of intelligence so that you can understand how to learn everything else.
Robotics, autonomous vehicles, augmented reality, virtual reality. We need a different kind of network in the future, and that's what we realized.
Without vocabulary, without understanding of language and how to communicate, how to think, it's impossible to learn everything else.
And that's why we wanted to forge this partnership, so that we're building a network leveraging AI for AI services.
The next is post-training. Post-training, after pre-training, is teaching you skills. Skills to solve problems, break down problems.
And that's really the big change here.
And the technology is flowing both ways. I mean, what is it that you will be able to do with Nokia, Jensen, that you weren't able to do on your own?
Reason about it, how to solve math problems, how to code, how to think about these problems step by step.
Nokia's CEO described it simply. We're building a network that leverages AI for air services. In plain terms, that means AI will optimize everything, from how your phone connects to a tower, to how autonomous vehicles communicate on the road, to how robots in factories synchronize with precision. This is AI-driven 6G, and it's the infrastructure of the next industrial revolution. For NVIDIA, this is strategic brilliance. They're no longer just the chip supplier for AI labs. They're embedding their hardware into the nervous system of the world's communication grid. But there's a deeper layer to this move. Huang said this partnership could allow America to win back telecommunications again. That's not just business talk, that's national security. Because for years, companies like Huawei dominated the global 5G rollout, giving China control over much of the network backbone. This NVIDIA-Nokia alliance represents the counterstrike. It's an effort to make sure the next era of wireless, 6G and beyond, is built on Western technology, protected from foreign surveillance and influence. The partnership isn't just symbolic. NVIDIA isn't just collaborating. It's investing directly in Nokia, taking nearly a 3% equity stake in the company Jensen called it, an investment in the future we're building together. That's a bold move. Not just a handshake, but a declaration that NVIDIA wants skin in the game. It signals confidence that Nokia's AI transformation is about to pay off big. And the market agrees. Since the announcement, Nokia's stock has jumped, signaling that investors see this as a long-term realignment of the telecom landscape. Here's what makes this partnership different from the old model of telecom innovation.
Well, first of all, Nokia is in all of the world's base stations. And this AirScale platform of Nokia is in millions of base stations around the world.
Use first principle reasoning. And then after that is where computation really kicks in.
If our computers are not inside that base station, it doesn't help. It's no different than NVIDIA's tech computing platforms not inside a car, it doesn't help. The first thing is we need a partner to get us into the world's space stations. We also, remember, we're bringing AI to radio network.
But ever since, I've learned more, thought about more, and the reason for that is because we're constantly grounding ourselves in new knowledge.
AI to RAN, so that we can make wireless tech communications a lot more efficient. Second, we're bringing AI for the radio. On top of these radio networks and these telecommunication network, we're going to be able to provide AI services.
We're constantly doing research, and we're constantly thinking. Thinking is really what intelligence is all about.
Which is going to be able to make it easier for us to do robotics and autonomous vehicles and industrial automation and reach all of the different places around the world. That's kind of hard to do with Wi-Fi.
Now we have three fundamental technology skills. We have these three technology, pre-training, which still requires enormous amount of computation.
Cellular reads everything. And so we now have this fabric that we can deploy AI computing services on top of it. It's going to be completely revolutionary.
We now have post-training, which uses even more computation, and now thinking puts incredible amounts of computation load.
In your world and in your market, Huawei is an influential player, not just in Europe, I think also about the Middle East and Africa. How important is the relationship with NVIDIA to be able to counter, what Huawei does in those markets?
Look, I think for us, one of the principles I've had with my team since coming in has been do what we can do that no one else can do, and that is AirScale.
On the infrastructure, because it's thinking on our behalf for every single human. The amount of computation necessary for AI to think, inference, is really quite extraordinary.
What we do with any RAN software, the software that runs on it, that we're going to be putting on the NVIDIA ARC platform, that do what we can do well and partner with the best everywhere else.
Now, I used to hear people say that inference is easy. NVIDIA should do training. NVIDIA's going to do, they're really good at this, so they're going to do training. That inference was easy.
And this is a clear opportunity to partner with the best. And by the way, that's where America and the Western world succeeds.
How could thinking be easy? Regurgitating memorized content is easy. regurgitating the multiplication table is easy.
Because we don't necessarily have one company doing everything like Huawei. We succeed because we partner aggressively.
Traditionally, upgrades, like 4G to 5G, required massive physical overhauls, new towers, new hardware, new chips. But NVIDIA's platform changes the entire equation. Instead of ripping out equipment, updates will happen through software. NVIDIA's Q2AI stack allows new capabilities to be deployed like an app update, instantly. That means if standards evolve, if protocols shift, or if entirely new AI systems emerge, networks can adapt overnight. The slow, expensive, decades-long upgrade cycles of telecom are gone. We're moving towards software-defined infrastructure, intelligent, flexible, and constantly evolving. This is exactly why Nokia's leadership called it a partnership with the best. They know their strength lies in global reach. Millions of base stations across 100+ countries. But they also know the future belongs to those who master AI. By embedding NVIDIA's accelerated computing directly into their air-scale systems, they're transforming those towers into AI-ready infrastructure. Together, they can deliver AI-powered services directly through the network, from edge robotics to connected cars to industrial automation. In Jensen's words, we're bringing AI to radio networks. That means the very airwaves that carry your data could soon carry AI processing power. It's also a signal to the rest of the world. For Europe, it's a lifeline. For the United States, it's a reclamation of leadership. And for companies like Huawei, it's a warning shot. Because Nokia and NVIDIA aren't just matching China's scale. They're creating something smarter, faster, and harder to replicate. By leveraging NVIDIA's accelerated computing and Nokia's software-driven 6G framework, they're setting the standard for global communication in the AI era.
If you watch GTC today, it was hard to not find it obvious that you're partnering with everybody. But that's the advantage, is this partnership.
Thinking is hard, which is the reason why these three scales, these three new scaling laws, which is all of it in full steam.
We let NVIDIA do what they do best, and ultimately our customers win, and ultimately for America, I think America will win because there'll be more innovation faster.
Telecommunications better than Nokia. They've been at it for a long time. They're all over the world. And between our two partnerships, we now have wireless telecommunications, AI, and we have accelerated computing, all in this partnership. And so all of that capability is going to be brought to bear for the next generation of 6G. I think that's the capabilities we bring together in this partnership is quite unique and formidable.
Has put so much pressure on the amount of computation. Now, another thing has happened. From these three scaling laws, we get smarter models.
Why was it important, Jensen, that NVIDIA ends up with almost 3% of Nokia? What was the rationale behind that?
The work that we're doing is so intensive.
And these smarter models need more compute. But when you get smarter models, you get more intelligence. People use it as, if anything happens, I want to be the first one out. That's kidding. The smarter your models are, the more people use it. It's now more grounded. It's able to reason.
And quite frankly, I was so optimistic about it and so excited about it. We wanted to invest in Nokia so that we could be part, of this incredible success that we're creating together. And I got to tell you, that move was pretty genius, wouldn't you say?
Problems it never learned how to solve before because it could do research. Go learn about it, come back, break it down, reason about how to answer your question.
Not for me to comment on. What I'd observe is, a 25% jump in the ADRs. What does that signal to you? I've known to be about speed. Is it that they're giving you a technology that you wouldn't otherwise have, or have you now a way of just moving faster?
There's no way we're going to have NVIDIA's technology and accelerated computing. I mean, the CUDA software stack, all of the capabilities, even the fundamentals of what's in Aerial, the software.
How to solve your problem and go off and solve it. The amount of thinking is making the models more intelligent. The more intelligent it is, the more people use it. Computation is necessary. But here's what happened. This last year, the AI industry turned a corner.
That NVIDIA has built is an accelerator for us. And then it's about speed, because now we can innovate much faster. And for us, it's that shift into adding value in software, and like a software company, or really not like a software company, like an application company that's going to use AI and AI models to continue to innovate and move faster.
Meaning that the AI models are now smart enough, they're worthy to pay for it.
This is no longer about speed or coverage. It's about intelligence. Now, the timeline for this transformation is surprisingly fast. Trials are already underway, with early customer tests beginning next year and full commercial deployment expected by 2027. That's less than 2 years from now. And because the system is modular, every existing Nokia base station could potentially be upgraded to handle AI workloads. No new towers. No new network. Just a software upgrade. That kind of scalability is unheard of in telecom. And it's exactly the kind of speed the industry needs to break out of its stagnation. But this isn't just about technology. It's also about politics. Jensen Huang made it clear. Technology has become the single most important lever in geopolitics. He said, "It's our national treasure. It's what will make America great again." That statement captures what this alliance truly represents. Not just innovation, but strategy. By aligning with Nokia, an ally in Europe, NVIDIA ensures that America and its partners retain control over the infrastructure that will power AI, defense, and digital economies for the next century. And that's something no single company or nation can afford to ignore. Still, there's another angle that makes this partnership even more powerful. Speed. Nokia's CEO said it bluntly. This deal lets them innovate faster than ever before. Instead of designing chips from scratch, they'll use NVIDIA's accelerated computing to simulate, test, and deploy new network technologies in real time. The collaboration turns Nokia from a hardware manufacturer into a software-first AI company. One capable of delivering updates, models, and AI services as fast as the industry demands them. And while the partnership was announced with technical jargon and quiet confidence, the implications are massive. This is the first step toward a world where every wireless network is an AI network, where 6G isn't just about connection, it's about cognition. Every base station, every antenna, every signal becomes part of a living, thinking infrastructure. That's the true meaning behind NVIDIA and Nokia's alliance. It's not just about 6G. It's about fusing intelligence into the world's communication systems. So while Elon Musk focuses on satellites and global internet coverage, Jensen Huang is doing something more strategic, building the infrastructure that all AI will eventually run on. And this time, he's not doing it alone. Because when NVIDIA's computing meets Nokia's networks, the result isn't just innovation, it's transformation. End. Cinematic outro line. This is the story of NVIDIA and Nokia's powerful AI alliance, and how it could redefine the future of connectivity, technology, and the global balance of power.
That this is the kind of innovation that this industry has needed. Look, this industry has a history. 3G, we were building better voice networks when the internet was getting started. 4G, 5G, we were building data networks behind where the market was. And today, 5G, when you look at it globally, is still only partially deployed. And in order to innovate, you've got to move much faster, and we need to enable our customers to have different and better technology.
And with this partnership, all of us, speaking of speed, it's going to go to Rubin, it's going to go Feynman, and it's going to go on a clip that basically is at the speed of light. And
I've got to ask you to clarify something, Jensen. You showed it $500 billion over what I think illustrated 6 financial quarters, but 20 million Blackwell.
5 financial quarters.
5 financial quarters. Because it seemed to be technically above consensus, right? But you seem to be suggesting that there is near-term actually an acceleration beyond what you were expecting.
All of that is only data center. Today we announced several new platforms. The NVIDIA Drive Hyperion platform, our ARC platform, our Quantum platform.
No networking.
No networking whatsoever. Well, that's data centers, so networking, NVIDIA networking for data centers, but not wireless networking, not wireless telecommunications.
Going already, you can see a demo actually at the booth here in GTC. You'll also see customer trials early next year. And then we think in full commercial. Great thing about the partnership with Jensen is I know he'll be pushing me to go faster, and I'll be pushing his team to go faster, and together that means that we can get to market.
It's compatible with AirScale.
Right.
And all of those millions of base stations could be upgraded to 6G and AI.
There's a lot of skepticism
incredible.
on 6G though, right? It's just a simple yes or no question, really. Is the 6G timeline accelerated because of this partnership?
I think it is, because what you can actually do now is, exactly to what Jensen said, you can deploy with ARC, and then if something happens or the standard evolves or it'll just be a software model update that we deploy in applications. It's a completely different model than what we're used to back in the days of deploying these complex integrated low-purpose accelerated computing, and that's why we think it's so compelling.
If the standards change, you got to go fix a chip. If the standards change, you're just and I just upgrade the software.
Jensen, you are traveling onwards now to Asia. I don't know what your schedule is for the jet, and I don't know if you and the president will be at the same place at the same time. It is that you're here in Washington, D.C. We're a few blocks from the White House. You called it the AI Super Bowl, others called it that too, but everyone is inferring from this.
To do what's right for America, and I'm certain he's going to go do that. The reason why we're here is because technology is now so important in politics and geopolitics. It's important for us to make sure that Washington, D.C. and the policymakers and all of the people who serve our country to make it great as it stands today and where we're going to go and the companies that matter to us so that we can make America great. And so that was the primary reason. Whenever there's an opportunity to see the president, I always love that. He's incredibly engaging, he's always learning, and he wants to help America win. We've been working with OpenAI through Azure, Microsoft, and OCI, and CoreWeave.
All over the place, literally. I mean, you're in the UK, I saw the white bow tie and all that, the tux.
You look very nice.
Yeah, you're here, it was very nice. But you're also doing a lot of investments.
And so through third parties for quite a long time. In fact, in 2016, I delivered the world's very first AI supercomputer called DGX-1.
Intel investment announced last week, quite a bit smaller than this one, but seems significant also because it's weaving NVIDIA technology
to a startup, a nonprofit startup in San Francisco, and that company turned out to have been OpenAI. And so we've been working with them for quite a long time.
The PCN data center level in a way that perhaps it wasn't before. Where do these kinds of investments fit in? How do you think about the value?
The OpenAI partnership is an addition to what we're already doing with them on the cloud. The Intel partnership is about recognizing that accelerated computing and AI's day has arrived. Remember, general purpose computing was invented practically 60 years ago. Contracts, we're going to continue to execute on all that. But our partnership with them is quite unique in the sense that this is the first time we're going to sell directly to them.
The AI war just got personal. NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang, the man behind the world's most powerful chips, has finally broken his silence after Sam Altman's shocking partnership move with AMD. What was once a close collaboration between OpenAI and NVIDIA may now be turning into a rivalry that could reshape the entire AI industry. With global spending on AI projected to hit nearly $1.5 trillion this year, the competition for dominance is fiercer than ever. OpenAI's decision to strike a deal with AMD, NVIDIA's longtime rival, sent shockwaves across Silicon Valley. And when CNBC sat down with Jensen Huang to discuss it, his response made it clear, NVIDIA isn't backing down. For nearly a decade, NVIDIA has been the silent engine behind the AI revolution. From ChatGPT's early training runs to Tesla's self-driving systems, NVIDIA's GPUs have powered the breakthroughs that defined modern artificial intelligence. So when Jensen Huang appeared on CNBC earlier this month, the world expected calm confidence. Instead, we got subtle frustration and a quiet warning to Sam Altman. During the interview, Huang recalled NVIDIA's long history with OpenAI dating back to 2016, when his company delivered its first-ever AI supercomputer, the DGX-1, to a small nonprofit startup in San Francisco. That startup was OpenAI. Since then, NVIDIA and OpenAI have worked together through partners like Microsoft Azure and Oracle Cloud, building the massive compute infrastructure that made ChatGPT possible. But everything changed when OpenAI, now led by Sam Altman, announced a new collaboration with AMD. According to Bloomberg and CNBC, the deal involves AMD supplying custom AI chips to OpenAI in exchange for a significant strategic stake, something Huang described as unique and surprising. When asked if he knew about the deal before it was announced, Huang admitted he didn't. He calmly said, "Not really, but our deal is very different from theirs." Then he drew a sharp distinction. NVIDIA, he explained, isn't just selling chips, it's building entire AI factories. We're the only company in the world that focuses on the full AI infrastructure, from CPUs, GPUs, networking chips, and switches, to the software stacks that bring it all together, Huang said. It was a subtle but powerful jab. While AMD was chasing partnerships, NVIDIA was already years ahead, building the backbone of AI supercomputing. Still, the AMD OpenAI deal caught investors off guard. According to Reuters, AMD offered OpenAI a 10% stake in exchange for an exclusive partnership, a bold move meant to challenge NVIDIA's dominance in high-end AI hardware. When asked about that deal, Huang smirked. He called it imaginative and clever, but couldn't hide his surprise. "I'm surprised they would give away 10% of their company before they even built it," he said, subtly questioning AMD's confidence in their own upcoming chips. That single comment sent waves through the tech community. It was the calmest explosion you could imagine. A CEO reminding the world that NVIDIA doesn't need stunts to stay ahead. Huang's remarks also highlighted how far NVIDIA's technology has come. 5 years ago, a single GPU chip was enough to drive innovation. But today, he explained, creating an AI supercomputer requires multiple specialized chips, optimized across every layer of the system. An AI supercomputer, he said, is the most complex computer ever made. While Moore's law, the principle that computing power doubles every 2 years, has slowed, NVIDIA has found new ways to accelerate. Each year, its systems become multiple times faster than the last generation. And that's something AMD has yet to match. But beneath the calm tone, Huang's comments reflected deeper tension. NVIDIA and OpenAI were once aligned in vision, pushing the limits of AI together. Now, Altman's pursuit of independence, through his own AI factories and chip projects, signals a shift that could threaten NVIDIA's dominance. According to The Information, OpenAI has quietly explored designing its own custom silicon to reduce reliance on NVIDIA's expensive GPUs. The AMD partnership is a stepping stone toward that goal, a direct challenge to Huang's empire. From NVIDIA's perspective, it's betrayal disguised as innovation. Huang didn't use that word, but his subtext was clear. NVIDIA helped build OpenAI from the ground up, and now the student is trying to outgrow the master. Still, Huang maintained professionalism. Instead of criticizing Altman directly, he emphasized NVIDIA's unique strengths. By selling full systems, not just chips, NVIDIA ensures companies like OpenAI can scale AI workloads more efficiently.
Until now, we've been only selling through the clouds. And so we're going to keep doing that. And for the last 60 years, we've been following that basic blueprint, that basic architecture, to build the ecosystem, the computing ecosystem of the. But the thing that's really exciting is that now, by selling directly to them, we could help prepare them for a day when they're self-hosted. And so all of a sudden, accelerated computing's time has come, and we're fusing, if you will, the Intel architecture with the NVIDIA architecture, the scaler. And our agreement basically entails us selling entire systems and infrastructure into the world of accelerated computing and AI. So that's what that partnership's about. This partnership, I mean, this is, monumental in size to them. We're the only company in the world today that really focuses on building the entire AI infrastructure, from CPUs to GPUs to networking chip project, a technical project of this complexity and this scale ever. And it really just says that AI was in the early adopter phase, and switches of all kinds and all the software stacks that go along with that. And so we're quite a unique partner for them to be able to do this. It's in the labs, and finally it's breaking out into just about every single industry, every single use case we can imagine. It is very soon.
I guess the question becomes, it's great for you to sell directly to them, but they don't have the money to buy it at this point. Is that's why the deal was structured the way it is, where you'll get a stake?
Where every single word every single interaction, every single image, video that we experience on, through computers, they don't have the money yet.
Yeah.
And the way that it's going to happen, for every gigawatt of AI factories will somehow have been reasoned through or referenced by or generated by AI. It's going to be touched by AI somehow. So all of our computing experiences, you're probably going to need about $50 to $60 billion for the land-powered shell and all the computing and networking and all that, everything that goes along with that. Throughout the day, everywhere in every industry, will be powered by AI. This is the first 10 gigawatts, and they're going to have to raise that money through, first of all, the revenues, which is growing exponentially. It sounds like an enormous undertaking, but there's no question that AI is transformational for every industry, equity or debt, and they gave us the opportunity to invest alongside other investors when the time comes. But the important thing is the AI infrastructure will be everywhere, and it will power computing experiences for everyone every day. And it's going to be just everywhere. And so it's not something we have to do, but it's something that they're giving us the opportunity to do, and I would love to do.
They have announced their intentions very clearly that they want to add up to 30 gigawatts of capacity. So in the end, it is all tied.
One of the things that we did, we invested in OpenAI early on. My only regret is that we didn't invest more.
As Huang put it, our partnership with OpenAI is still strong. We'll continue executing our cloud contracts, but this new agreement allows us to sell directly to them, and that's a first. This direct sales model marks a turning point. For years, NVIDIA sold primarily through cloud providers. Now, it's engaging directly with AI developers, giving it tighter control and deeper integration. Exactly the kind of move that keeps it ahead of rivals like AMD and Intel. But the bigger question is, can anyone actually catch up to NVIDIA? Right now, NVIDIA controls over 80% of the global AI chip market, according to Canalys. Its newest architecture, Blackwell, unveiled earlier this year, is already being adopted by tech giants like Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft. Each system can cost up to $10 million, and demand still exceeds supply. AMD's chips, while promising, face an uphill battle. Their MI300 accelerators are powerful, but as Huang noted, one chip alone isn't enough. NVIDIA's edge lies in its ecosystem, a web of hardware, software, and networking optimized together. As Forbes reported, this synergy makes NVIDIA's platform incredibly hard to replace. Even if AMD builds faster chips, without NVIDIA's software stack, CUDA, TensorT, and AI frameworks, developers would struggle to replicate the same results. So where does this leave Sam Altman? He's betting on diversification, reducing dependency on NVIDIA, and exploring new chip architectures that give OpenAI more control. But as Huang hinted, that road is long and expensive. Building AI factories costs billions, and even OpenAI's rapid growth might not sustain that scale without partners like Microsoft. Huang's calm tone during the CNBC interview masked what many analysts described as a strategic warning. NVIDIA isn't angry, it's focused. And while AMD may have gained attention with its partnership deal, NVIDIA remains the undisputed backbone of AI infrastructure. As CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin wrapped up the interview, Huang smiled and said, "They're a really good company. We take them very seriously, and we're just going to keep running." That final line says it all. Jensen Huang doesn't need to explode in anger. His company's performance speaks louder than words. The AI race isn't about who shouts the loudest. It's about who builds the future faster. And right now, NVIDIA is still setting the pace.
I mean, this is the most profitable, the most valuable startup company ever. And so this is a great opportunity.
Goal of, adding 30 gigawatts. And just to put it in perspective, I mean, the entire gigawatt capacity of all the hyperscalers combined.
You mentioned that your deal is very different from AMD's. AMD is in a situation where they're basically giving away a big chunk of their company to be able to be a partner.
Is around that ballpark, 30 gigawatts. So they are talking about, some big numbers in terms of capacity additions. How they will do it?
With OpenAI and sell them some of their goods. Is that how you read it?
Yeah, I saw the deal. It's imaginative.
One is through a deal with Oracle. So that was a $300 billion deal. Then they signed a $250 billion deal with Microsoft.
It's unique and surprising. Considering they were so excited about their next generation product, I'm surprised that.
So when you look at it from that perspective, 38 billion is not that big. And look, I can see what OpenAI is.
They would give away 10% of the company before they even built it. And so, anyhow, it's clever, I guess.
Doing because they've seen, Anthropic sign a deal with Microsoft first, and then they signed a deal with Google TPU.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing. And Lisa Su, who, by the way, is a distant cousin of yours,
yeah,
right?
she's terrific. Yeah, she's terrific.
The way they've set this up, though.
Anthropic and OpenAI are the purest plays when it comes to LLMs. And if Anthropic is getting all that compute capacity from the two hyperscalers
of giving it away, they're also making some big assumptions that their chips are going to be able to compete with your chips that are coming out down the road. Do you think that's the case? Let's talk about vendor financing, because that has been something that has raised a lot of questions on Wall Street since you cut this deal with OpenAI.
Chips are quite special, and we're running really fast. We're the only company in the world today that builds all of the chips inside and.
Yesterday, Bloomberg is reporting that you have a $2 billion in financing that you're going to be involved with xAI to help.
AI infrastructure. And today, back when we first started, 5 years ago even, an Ampere chip or a Hopper chip is just one chip.
Help them with these same stories. But this idea of circular financing, your customers can't afford to buy these chips yet, so you're going to help them out with money along the way.
Today, if you want to build one of these AI supercomputers, it takes a whole bunch of different types of chips to get the performance out of it.
That leads some people to think back to what happened with companies during the big buildup like a Lucent or a Nortel in the early days.
Because, Moore's Law, the transistor itself is really slowing down. And we want to create those X factors of performance increase every single.
Is this different, and if so, how?
Well, first of all, xAI, I'm super excited about the financing opportunity that they're doing single year, and we're delivering these new systems every single year, and every year it's multiple times faster than the last generation. If the only regret I have about xAI, we're an investor already. The only regret I have is I didn't give him more money. In order for us to do that, we have to optimize the entire AI infrastructure. That supercomputer is the most complex computer the world's ever made. Almost everything that Elon's part of, you really want to be part of as well. And he gave us the opportunity to invest in xAI. I'm just delighted by that. And we optimize across all of that, design new chips every year. So one chip alone is not probably going to be able to deliver the type of results we do. And so that's an investment into a really great future company, and I'm really excited about that. That's not venture. But anyways, they're a really good company, and we take them very seriously, and we're just gonna have to keep running. It's not vendor financing per se, but what's going on in the world versus what happened in 2000 is just dramatically different.
You're also doing a lot of investments. The Intel investment announced last week, quite a bit smaller than this one, but seems significant also.
Back then, as you recall, there were pets.com, hospitals.com, and all of the internet companies combined was, what, $30–40 billion in size?
Because it's weaving NVIDIA technology in the PC and data center level in a way that perhaps it wasn't before.
If you look at the hyperscalers now, that's where the first tranche of AI infrastructure is.
Where do these kinds of investments fit in? How do you think about the value of the ecosystem to NVIDIA?
Building. If you look at the AI, the hyperscalers, that's about $2.5 trillion of business that's already operating today.
The Intel partnership is about recognizing that accelerated computing and AI's day has arrived. Remember, general purpose computing was invented practically 60 years ago.
That business, that $2.5 trillion business, and the capex that goes underneath that is about, call it $500 billion.
And for the last 60 years, we've been following that basic blueprint, that basic architecture, to build the ecosystem.
That transition from a classical CPU-based computing
to now generative AI computing, the computing use of the world. And so all of a sudden, accelerated computing's time has come, and we're fusing, if you will, powered by GPUs. That transition is just starting. So we've got to build into $500 billion worth of capacity, the Intel architecture with the NVIDIA architecture, to bring them into the world of accelerated computing and AI. So that's what that partnership's about. This partnership, infrastructure that's already naturally growing by itself, and we're in the beginning phases of that. If you just look at NVIDIA's AI infrastructure business, I mean, this is, monumental in size. There's never been an engineering project, a technical project of this complexity and this scale. Call it a couple of $100 billion so far. We're a couple of $100 billion into a multi-trillion-dollar build-out. So that's number one, ever. And it really just says that AI was in the early adopter phase in the labs, and finally it's breaking out into. The second part of it that's really unique is that we have a new generation of AI companies. The new AI companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and just about every single industry, every single use case we can imagine. It is very soon where every single word, XAI, and companies that are Thinking Machine Labs from Mira and Ilya Sutskever's SSI, every single interaction, every single image, video that we experience on, through computers will somehow have been reasoned through or Misha's company, Reflection, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of amazing AI model builders now. This generation of AI model builders, referenced by or generated by AI, it's going to be touched by AI somehow. So all of our computing experiences throughout the day, everywhere, in every industry, what's happened in the last several months, a transition happened that is really, really important. For the last several years, they've been generating tokens, will be powered by AI. This is the first 10 gigawatts. It's surely, it sounds like an enormous, these AI tokens, basically at a loss. And the reason for that is because the early AI models they were super interesting, but there's no question that AI is transformational for every industry. But the important thing is the AI infrastructure will be everywhere. But they weren't useful enough to pay for. The last several months it's been very clear that the new technology is now reasoning, and it will power computing experiences for everyone every day, and it's going to be just everywhere. It's doing research. Before it answers a question, it goes on the web and studies other PDFs and websites. It can now use tools.
The rivalry between NVIDIA, AMD, and OpenAI is far from over. Each move reshapes the landscape of artificial intelligence, from who controls the chips to who controls the future. If you found this analysis insightful, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more in-depth coverage of the AI revolution, and stay tuned, because the next battle in Silicon Valley's AI war might already be unfolding.
Details on OpenAI's deal to build one of the world's largest AI data centers in Abu Dhabi. Sources telling CNBC's Kate Rooney that Elon Musk worked to try to stop that deal if it didn't include his own AI startup, XAI.
What do you think about, like, when Elon was calling for a pause on AI?
I mean, he was like starting an AGI company while he was doing that.
Yeah. So didn't he start it like after he was calling for the pause?
I think before, but I don't remember. In any case,
is it one of those you can't beat him, join him things?
I think the instinct of saying, like, we've really got to figure out how to make this safe and good and, like, widely good is really important. But I think calling for a pause is, like, naive at best.
So I was sitting at the dinner with Macron. So it was Macron, it was JD Vance, and it was Sam Altman. Frankly, I think Elon was a little jealous that Sam Altman was sitting next to JD Vance, and it wasn't him. And because it was right around the time that Sam Altman was speaking that he announced it. And frankly, I thought Sam's tweet response, part of it was pretty good. I would have probably said, instead of whatever he said about 9 billion, I would have said, yeah, I'm going to take Twitter public at $420 a share. It was attention grabbing, right? Some people can't stand to not be getting attention.
The battle for the future of artificial intelligence is a clash of ideologies, a fight for the very soul of what AI should be. And at the heart of this explosive drama? Two billionaires, each with a vision for AI that couldn't be more different. On one side, you have Elon Musk, the relentless innovator and tech disruptor, the man who's been reshaping industries for decades. On the other, you have Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, who's become the gatekeeper of one of the most powerful technologies humanity has ever known. This is a story of vision, trust, and control, and at stake is nothing less than who will own the future of AI. Musk is making moves that could flip everything we thought we knew about AI, and his latest play? A $97 billion bid to take over OpenAI, the very company he helped create. But here's the kicker. Altman made it clear. OpenAI is not for sale. So why the offer? What's behind Musk's sudden push to seize control? Is this just a billionaire power play, an attempt to slow down a competitor? Or does Musk truly believe that OpenAI has strayed from its original mission? Musk's frustration is palpable. He believes OpenAI has veered off course, morphing from its non-profit roots into a profit-driven juggernaut. In Musk's eyes, this is about preserving the mission to ensure AI doesn't become a weapon of the few. And if Musk has his way, he'll tear down the walls of secrecy and profit-driven agendas to create an AI that's open, safe, and accessible to everyone. But let's not kid ourselves. This is about trust. Sam Altman may have once stood shoulder to shoulder with Musk as they co-founded OpenAI, but the cracks have been widening for years. Musk's vision of an open, transparent AI world doesn't align with Altman's increasingly corporate-driven OpenAI, which is more focused on scaling rapidly, securing funding, and positioning itself for long-term dominance. This shift from non-profit to a hybrid for-profit model hasn't just raised eyebrows, it's turned the company's very identity on its head. Musk wants to put the brakes on that, but Altman? He's accelerating forward, convinced that the company needs the freedom to grow and evolve, even if it means embracing profit. And let's not forget the stakes here. What happens if Musk pulls this off? If he successfully takes control of OpenAI, dismantles its current structure, and builds a rival, we might be looking at a complete upheaval in the AI world. AI development could become more transparent, safer, and more accessible. But that's a big if. Musk has never been shy about taking risks, but is he really prepared to handle the immense power that comes with controlling such a force? And if he doesn't succeed, if Altman holds onto the reins and steers OpenAI down its current path, what does that mean for the future? Does it mean we're handing the keys to the most powerful technology in human history to a single company, and by extension, one individual's vision of how AI should be developed? Sam Altman insists that OpenAI's mission hasn't changed, but the reality is, things are different. OpenAI may have started as a non-profit, a dream to create AI for the good of humanity. But now, it's a multi-billion-dollar empire where the lines between mission-driven idealism and capitalistic ambition are becoming harder and harder to distinguish. Altman may have started OpenAI with a noble goal, but as he steers it into the realm of profit, the question arises: can we trust him with the future of AI? Is he still the right person to protect us from the very risks he once warned about? So buckle up, because this battle is far from over. Whether it's Musk's vision of an open, regulated AI world, or Altman's quest to lead OpenAI into the future, the stakes have never been higher. And whichever side you're on, there's no denying that this is one race we can't afford to lose.
OpenAI, I mean, you seem somewhat frustrated with them. You were one of the big contributors early on.
The reason I am the reason OpenAI exists.
How much money did you give them?
I'm not sure the exact number, but it's some number on the order of $50 million. Man, fate loves irony next level.
Do you think Musk's approach then is from a position of insecurity about XAI?
Probably his whole life is from a position of insecurity. I feel for the guy.
You feel for him?
I do, actually. I don't think he's like a happy person. I do feel for him.
Elon Musk is part of an investor group trying to buy OpenAI, the parent company of the popular chat GPT service. Musk is leading a group of investors who have made a bid to buy OpenAI for nearly $100 billion. But Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, says there's just one problem.
OpenAI is not for sale. The OpenAI mission is not for sale. fail. Elon tries all sorts of things for a long time. This is this week's episode.
You take it seriously at all? What do you think he's trying to drive at with this?
I think he's probably just trying to slow us down. He obviously is a competitor.
The backstory here is key, right? Musk actually co-founded OpenAI back in 2015, but he has feuded with Sam Altman ever since then over OpenAI's plans to convert from a nonprofit to a for-profit company.
Something is boiling beneath the surface of Silicon Valley. Elon Musk is suing the very company he co-founded. Sam Altman, the man currently running that company, is in the spotlight, answering questions, dodging accusations, and subtly firing back. But this isn't just another tech feud. This is a power struggle over who controls the future of artificial intelligence. Because if Elon Musk gets his way, if he dismantles OpenAI, builds a rival, or reclaims the narrative, it might just flip the script on everything we thought we knew about AI, safety, and control. But if he doesn't, if Altman keeps the wheel and pushes forward without brakes or oversight, then yes, we might really be screwed. This is about how power shifts when the most advanced intelligence ever created lands in human hands, and whether we've put it in the right ones.
One of the other questions, and it is Elon related, is you are now moving towards having a for-profit component part of your business. Right now it's a not-for-profit. And he, as everybody knows, if you read the papers, is suing you over this and many other things. How do you feel? I actually just want to ask you on a very personal level, forgetting about even the merits of the case. As a guy who has spent a lot of time with him and you guys founded this thing together, how do you feel personally today about all this? Just as a human.
Tremendously sad. I grew up with Elon as like a mega hero. I thought what Elon was doing was absolutely incredible for the world. And I'm still, of course, I have different feelings about him now, but I'm still glad he exists. And not just because, no, I mean that genuinely, not just because I think his companies are awesome, which I do think, but because I think he, at a time when most of the world was not thinking very ambitiously, he pushed a lot of people, me included, to think much more ambitiously. And I'm grateful is the wrong kind of word, but I'm thankful, I'm positive about that. We started OpenAI together, and then at some point he totally lost faith in OpenAI and decided to go his own way, and that's fine too, but I think of Elon as a builder and someone who, known thing about Elon, he really cares about being the guy. But I think of him as someone that if he's not, that just competes in the market and in technology and whatever else, and doesn't resort to lawfare. And, whatever the stated complaint is, what I believe is he's just he's a competitor and we're doing well. And that's sad to see.
How concerned is Sam Altman about annihilation, do you think?
I think in reality he is not concerned about it. I don't trust OpenAI. I started that company as a non-profit open source.
Yes.
The open in OpenAI, I named the company.
Yeah.
OpenAI as an open source, and it is now extremely closed source and maximizing profit. I don't understand how you actually go from being an open source non-profit to a closed source for maximum profit organization.
Let me ask you a different question just about the company. You did start it as a not-for-profit. It was a research outfit originally.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's a view that it has to shift to be some kind of profit-oriented company.
Well,
does it have to?
First of all, I'd like to talk about the reason we started as a nonprofit, because I think it sort of speaks to the answer too. When we started, we did not have any idea that we were going to be a product company. We also did not know that the amount of capital we needed would turn out to be so huge. If we did know those things, we would have picked a different structure. It's hard to overstate, because it wasn't that long ago on the calendar, but it's hard to overstate how different 2016 was. This was years before we had the research that led to language models. This was 4.5 years before we launched our first product. This was 6.5 years before we launched ChatGPT. All we knew that we wanted to do was do some AI research, and that we thought AGI and superintelligence eventually would be this important thing to the world. And we wanted to somehow do something that would be good. At the time we were working on writing papers, new RL algorithms, new theories, a way to play video games, a robotic hand, And it was not clear that there would ever be a product or revenue stream at all. And it wasn't clear that we were going to need one because it wasn't clear we needed so much money. Right. It became clear after GPT-1 and some other work that we were going to need to scale. And we started, and also Elon decided to stop funding us as a nonprofit, and we couldn't get somebody else to do it, that we needed to find a way to make a capped profit. Now, we wanted to keep going with a lot of the things that we think are good about a nonprofit, and so we had this subsidiary capped profit that worked for a while.
We start with a question that cuts straight to the core. How do you feel about Elon Musk suing you? Sam Altman doesn't flinch. But what he gives us isn't a corporate answer. It's something more personal, more conflicted. He talks about idolizing Elon, seeing him as a hero. Not a mentor, not a colleague, a hero. That's worship-level admiration. And when someone you revere becomes your legal opponent, that's grief. But let's step back. Why does this matter? Because it exposes the emotional rot under the surface of OpenAI. A company born from big, idealistic dreams, co-founded by people who believed they could steer the most powerful technology on Earth, fractured into lawsuits and counterclaims. When Sam says Elon lost faith in OpenAI, he makes it sound like a bad breakup. But really, it's the story of two visions diverging. Elon wanted AI to be open source, safe, shared. Sam saw a different path, one that required capital, scaling, and eventually, control. And that control is exactly what Elon is afraid of. Elon's fear isn't new. He's warned for years about AI becoming humanity's last invention, especially if it's wielded by the wrong people. So when he sees Sam leading a company that's both secretive and profitable, he sounds the alarm. I don't trust OpenAI. This is the kind of institutional breakdown that could define the next decade. The very people who were supposed to protect us from runaway AI can't even trust each other. And while they trade jabs in interviews and court filings, the technology keeps evolving, faster, smarter, scarier. So what happens if Elon decides to launch his own AI, built from scratch and engineered to outcompete OpenAI? Well, if he's right, if Sam really can't be trusted, then that move might be the only thing that keeps us from handing the keys to the kingdom over to a single private empire. But if Elon's wrong, then we're in a global arms race of egos, not ethics. And in that kind of race, no one wins.
Meantime, this new chapter in the battle of the tech billionaires, Sam Altman rejecting that $97.4 billion bid by an Elon Musk-led group looking to take control of OpenAI. CNBC's Arjun Karpal caught up with Altman at this AI conference this morning in Paris, which is the locus of pretty much all global attention today. Hey, Arjun.
Hey, good morning, Carl. And look, one of the things and the rationales behind the deal from Elon Musk, which is very important, is he thinks OpenAI has strayed from its goal to create AI that benefits humanity, and that's why he says he's put in his bid. But what does Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, think? This was amongst the questions I put to him. Why do you think Musk is putting a bid in now? Let's listen into what he had to say. Musk bid for OpenAI?
Yeah.
How seriously are you taking it?
Not particularly.
Not particularly. Why do you think he's doing this?
To slow down a competitor.
And Stargate? Do you have the funding?
I'm not the one who tweeted funding secured. I just actually try to show up and, build the thing.
Sam, just a quick one.
What's the end game, Mr. Rome? What is the end game
of
Elon Musk? I don't know. I'm curious. Yeah. I think it's to slow down a competitor and try to catch up with his thing, but I don't really know.
Yeah, but you know well, right?
To the degree anybody does, yeah.
Just when you think the rift couldn't get any deeper, Sam throws down a new card, publicly. In a short clip, he's asked how seriously he takes Elon's bid for OpenAI. His response? Not particularly. That sounds casual, but make no mistake, it's strategic. He's not just downplaying Elon, he's exposing him. Altman claims Elon is trying to slow down a competitor, not protect the world, not champion ethics, but stall the progress of a rival he can't keep up with. And then comes the snark. I'm not the one who tweeted funding secured. That's a shot across the bow. A dig at Elon's infamous SEC battle. What this shows is critical. The gloves are off. This is about undermining each other publicly, damaging reputations, and taking the AI race into the mud. And Sam's final word? I don't really know what Elon's endgame is. That's casting doubt. It's Sam planting the idea that maybe Elon doesn't even have a master plan. Just a grudge and a need to stay relevant in a space he helped ignite, but no longer controls. This isn't a chess match, it's a street fight. And at this point, neither side is pretending otherwise.
And in some senses still does kind of work, and in some other senses is like straining the theory of what a nonprofit controlled org can be and the amount of capital we need at this next stage. So we are, and have been for a while, looking at some changes. Nothing is decided. It is, as you can imagine, like very complicated to figure this out. And the board is like hard at work on it. In any configuration, like the nonprofit doesn't go away. Like one thing that the board has looked at, for example, is a PBC that a nonprofit owns a huge chunk of and then figures out how to use that amount of wealth for the purpose of the nonprofit. There's other ideas too.
One of the things I've always been fascinated by is you never took equity in the company.
I think you think about that more than I do.
I'm surprised. You get paid $76,000, I looked.
I believe you.
And that's it. If the company does have one of these moments, there's an expectation you will get some equity.
There was much of press about that, and there's been like some investor pressure. It is weird that I didn't get equity.
Did you want it? You didn't want it?
No, I didn't want it. If I could go back in time, I would have taken it, just some little bit, just to never have to answer this question. And no matter how many times I try to explain to people, like, I have the most interesting, coolest job in the world. This is like my retirement dream way to spend my time after like what was a pretty good career. And people can work on like art projects and not get paid for that, and no one thinks it's weird or whatever. It just does not come across. So I wish I had taken some. I don't imagine I would work any harder or less hard. There would be like, I think, something clearer about the alignment I would have had with investors or whatever else, and it definitely would have been easier to raise money. Like there are plenty of investors who have not invested because I didn't take equity.
They say, really, that's interesting. They will not invest because you don't have equity.
Come up a few times, yeah.
So if it's now the company's $157 billion, what do you think is a good number for yourself if it happens?
Again, I think you think about it more. This is my childhood dream job. Like, not every day, like not day to day. I would rather not, like, be beating my head against the wall all the time. But getting to work on AGI and like getting to like sit in the room with the smartest researchers in the world and go on this crazy adventure, like, that is what I always wanted to do. That was like my literal childhood dream. And that is, all of the weirdness aside, I think it should at least be understandable that is worth more to me than any additional money.
Well, but Sam Altman got rich, didn't he?
At various points, he's claimed not to be getting rich, but he's claimed many things that were false. And now apparently he's going to get $10 billion of stock or something like that. So I don't trust Sam Altman, and I don't think we want to have the most powerful AI in the world controlled by someone who is not trustworthy. And sorry, I just don't. I mean,
but that seems like a fair concern.
Yeah.
But you don't think, as someone who knows him and has dealt with him, that he is worried about the possibility this could get out of control and hurt people?
He will say those words, yeah, but no.
The next few minutes of the interview drop harder than most people realize. Sam opens up about OpenAI's nonprofit roots, and it's clear they weren't built for scale. In 2016, they weren't chasing a product. They were publishing research, tinkering with algorithms, teaching robotic hands to solve Rubik's cubes. It was science for science's sake. But then came GPT. Then came scaling. Then came the money. Sam admits, if we knew how much capital we'd need, we would have chosen a different structure. That line hits like a time bomb, because it reframes OpenAI not as a mission-led organization adapting to growth, but as a non-profit that stumbled into capitalism and never looked back. That's where the rot begins. From the outside, OpenAI still talks like a non-profit. They emphasize safety, alignment, and global benefit. But internally, they're bending structures, creating hybrid for-profit caps, exploring public benefit corporations, all to make the numbers work. And here's the catch. If you need that much capital to benefit humanity, maybe you're not building something for humanity anymore. Maybe you're building a business and trying to dress it up like a cause. Then comes the kicker. Sam never took equity. He makes $76,000 a year. To most people, that sounds noble. But to investors, it sounds suspicious. In a world where incentives drive everything, where billions are on the line, refusing to take equity means your motivations become harder to read. Are you a martyr? A puppet? A wild card? Sam says he regrets not taking a little equity. Not for the money, but to shut people up. That's honest. Maybe too honest. Because it shows how badly OpenAI wants to appear principled, even as it gets entangled in capitalism's oldest trap, trust. And then, boom, we return to Elon's voice. I don't trust Sam Altman. He doesn't believe Sam tells the truth. He doesn't believe Sam is worried about AI safety. He doesn't believe the man who helped build OpenAI should be allowed anywhere near the most powerful system on Earth. That's a red flag. Because the moment trust breaks down, not just between co-founders, but between creators and the public, AI ceases to be a tool. It becomes a weapon. And in Elon's eyes, Sam Altman is already pulling the trigger.
All right, right now, a rivalry between big tech billionaires playing out as we speak. We're talking about Elon Musk and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. Altman firing back after a Musk-led group submitted an unsolicited $97.4 billion bid to take over OpenAI. Take a listen.
Sam, should you have taken Elon's offer?
You refused $1 billion for Elon Musk. What do you want to say to Elon Musk?
Receive what from him?
Almost $100 billion, right?
The company is not for sale, neither is the mission. We're happy to buy Twitter if you can talk about that.
Wow, okay. Altman made that same message in a post to X saying he'll buy Twitter for just $9.74 billion.
Elon tries all sorts of things for a long time. This is this week's episode.
You take it seriously at all? What do you think he's trying to drive at with this?
I think he's probably just trying to slow us down. He obviously is a competitor. He's working hard and he's raised a lot of money for XAI, and they're trying to compete with us from a technological perspective, from getting the product into the market. And I wish he would just compete by building a better product, but I think there's been a lot of tactics, many lawsuits, all sorts of other crazy stuff. Now this, and we'll try to just put our head down and keep working.
Does it make it more difficult to move from that non-profit model to that for-profit model for OpenAI?
We're not moving to a for-profit model. We're not sure we're going to do it all, but no matter what, the non-profit will continue to be extremely important. It will drive the mission. It will continue to exist. The board is looking at lots of options about how to best structure for this next phase, but the non-profit is not changing into anything or going anywhere. I mean, whether they did or didn't, they built a good model. Many people will distill from many other models. Again, I feel so confident about our research roadmap and also our product roadmap that, DeepSeek will do whatever DeepSeek's going to do. Other people do whatever they're going to do. And we're just going to try to build the best technology we can and get it into people's hands. And I think that's mostly going pretty well.
Do you think Musk's approach then is from a position of insecurity about XAI?
Probably his whole life is from a position of insecurity. I feel for the guy.
You feel for him?
I do, actually. I don't think he's a happy person. I do feel for him.
Okay. Do you worry that he has this proximity to the president and he can influence the decision-making of the US presidency and policies around this agenda on AI?
Not particularly. Maybe I should, but not particularly. I mean, I try to just wake up and think about how we're going to make our technology better.
Sam Altman with Tom McKenzie in Paris. We go to London now. When they walked me in the room and they said, we got a fun thing for you to do. Own YouTube. The first book I read, comment, subscribe by Mark Bergen, cover to cover, inside YouTube's chaotic rise to world domination. Observing OpenAI in Paris is Bergen in London. Mark, what does Macron want out of this? What do European leaders want out of an AI soiree in Paris?
I think they want, in some ways, what they want people like Sam Altman there. He probably wanted Elon Musk there as well. They want big headline numbers, right? Macron kind of gave his version of the Project Stargate. He said 109 billion euros of investment. If you look at the finer points there's a lot of details yet to be filled in, and some of those are over a massive timeline. But I think they want to be seen as relevant, right? I mean, we had the end of that conversation between Tom and Sam Altman about DeepSeek. It's US, it's China. Europe is left out in those conversations.
Mark, on the subject of DeepSeek, which I imagine is looming large over this gathering in Paris, there was a bit of happy talk there from Sam Altman about the fact that all of these different AI companies building their models are going to learn from each other. But as you and our colleagues have reported here, there is some, shall I say, skepticism about the way in which this Chinese company has fashioned this model. What's the latest on that as we kind of learn more about it and how it was fashioned and indeed how much it costs to do?
Yeah, I actually think they were more candid this week than I expected. We saw Demis Hassabis, who runs DeepMind and Google's AI efforts, basically telling us on TV yesterday, I think the cost that DeepMind, that 6 million figure that they use to train their models, he said it's exaggerated. He basically called BS on it. And we had Chris Lehane, who runs policy for OpenAI, saying that we've been talking with government officials about this possibility that they distilled or use unauthorized access to OpenAI data.
Yeah.
And so basically built this model right on the shoulders of OpenAI.
Mark, unfair question, but let's finish with this. How does Microsoft arc over this tension of Musk and Altman? What does Microsoft want out of this?
It's a good question. In some ways, Microsoft's kind of the winner as long as people keep buying their cloud services. And I think, it seems like what Musk has thrown a little bit is a wrench between the close relationship with Microsoft and OpenAI. I believe even since after his lawsuit, they've kind of backed away from that. And there's some reporting that they're not as close as they were. But, in the long run here, Microsoft wants more companies spending on chips, more companies spending on cloud compute. And I think they're fine to let this lawsuit.
It is the app that is revolutionizing the tech world and beyond. ChatGPT is one of the fastest growing apps on the market. It's AI assistant helping users solve problems both big and small, and leading investors to dream of the wild and lucrative possibilities of artificial intelligence.
They're spending tens of billions of dollars every few months in order to make artificial intelligence really happen and become mainstream.
But its parent company OpenAI's rapid growth, the subsequent injection of investor cash from several different sources, coupled with co-founder Sam Altman's desire to make the company a for-profit entity, has led his former partner Elon Musk to revolt. Musk has filed a lawsuit to slow or outright block the company's transformation. And now he's taking that feud a step further, offering close to $100 billion to take control of the company. A bid Altman didn't ask for and immediately rejected. No thank you, but we'll buy Twitter for $9.74 billion. A subtle shot at Musk, who bought the social media platform for $44 billion. Musk returned fire, calling Altman Scam Altman and a swindler. Musk's bid to take control of OpenAI comes at the same time he's enjoyed immense influence over the Trump White House.
I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific.
But Trump has not been afraid to keep Altman close, hosting him at the White House to announce a $100 billion investment in AI infrastructure across the U.S.
We wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President.
A rivalry that Trump seems to be willing to encourage.
These two men, while they're rivals and big competitors and former business partners, they're also fighting for the affections of the President of the United States.
And in his offer to buy OpenAI, Musk's attorney promises the billionaire will return the company back to its core mission with a pledge to make it open source, nonprofit, and a, quote, safety-focused force for good that it once was.
So here's where we are. One man is building what may become the most advanced artificial intelligence platform in history. The other is trying to stop him. Not with algorithms, but with a lawsuit. And both of them helped create this storm. If Elon Musk makes this happen, if he creates a competing AI that's open, regulated, and accessible, he could flip the AI race on its head and expose just how fragile OpenAI's structure really is. But if he fails? If the lawsuit goes nowhere and OpenAI doubles down on control? Then Sam Altman becomes the de facto steward of the most powerful technology we've ever known. And that means whether or not we trust him, we're all along for the ride. So yeah, we are screwed might not be hyperbole. It might just be the understatement of the year. So, Apple just called out OpenAI and the entire AI industry without even raising their voice. While everyone else is hyping up how smart these models are, Apple quietly dropped a study that basically asks, are these systems actually thinking, or are they just really good at faking it? We've all seen those step-by-step answers in tools like ChatGPT or Claude, where it looks like the AI is solving problems in real time. Turns out, that might not be real reasoning at all. According to Apple's research, when the puzzles get tough, even the best models break down, and not just a little. We're talking complete collapse. They tested models like Claude, DeepSeek, and OpenAI's own, and what they found was kind of brutal. In this video, we're breaking down what Apple actually discovered, why it matters, and whether these so-called intelligent systems are truly reasoning or just putting on a show. Let's get into it.
Apple researchers now raising red flags that may be hard for the AI trade to ignore. In a new paper, they're throwing cold water on the growing trend of reasoning models and whether they're really more accurate. Deirdre Bosa has more in today's Tech Check. Please explain, Deirdre.
I will. So in doing this, Apple is essentially calling out not just a growing, but the biggest trend in AI right now, and that is reasoning, the ability of models to try and think like humans. Now, these models are everywhere. OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, they are all racing to build AI that doesn't just spit out answers, but shows its work step by step, promising more reliable and logical responses. But Apple scientists, they're now saying that beyond a certain point, it just doesn't work. Not only do these models struggle with harder problems, but they actually get worse as the task gets more complex and they waste computing power overthinking simple tasks. Here's an example from the paper. Now the AI, it's playing a simple version of checkers, swapping pieces from one side to the other. It starts easy, but the more pieces you add, the harder it gets. It's a logical puzzle. This chart shows how well AI models handle the puzzle as it gets harder. At first they're accurate, but at around 8 to 10 pieces, everything just collapses. Even the most advanced reasoning models, they break down. So put simply, thinking harder doesn't make these models any smarter. It just makes them slower, less reliable, and importantly, more expensive too. They're burning through compute power. So what does this all mean for investors and the AI trade at large? Well, some see this as Apple moving the goalposts, shifting the conversation because it's late to AI. But similar findings are coming from other labs too, including Anthropic and Leap, a Chinese AI research group. And they raise big questions. Is the industry chasing the wrong kind of intelligence? And so are companies like OpenAI and Google just burning through expensive compute to make these models look smart without actually getting any better. The AI boom so far, guys, you know this well, it's been about scale. But this newer narrative, which is certainly gaining momentum, that could continue to shift the focus to efficiency, and it could make investors question once again whether all this spending is actually paying off. We've seen the AI trade take off once again over the last month. But remember, these are similar doubts that stalled the AI trade earlier this year after DeepSeek's breakthrough. It was all about efficiency and ROI. Could also help explain why Apple isn't jumping into AI the same way that others are, because culturally, Apple is very hesitant to release products that aren't perfect. And this paper really shows and proves that these new reasoning models are far from perfect.
So they're not getting smarter?
Not after a certain point. So when you think about simple logical tests, yes, but when it goes into the more complex ones, they're not. They're actually just burning compute power. And the word too that I hear a lot from sources, CEOs, founders that I talk to in AI is generalization, right? What do you do with an AI model if it's very good at math and science and sort of logical problems up to a certain point, but they can't generalize? That could make the idea of agents, right? Another buzzword, something that Apple has wanted to integrate into the iPhone, much further off. That we're not going to get that. We're not going to get that killer app, that killer use case beyond a chatbot for some time.
So you think, Dee, it's a reflection of Apple's habit over the years of not overpromising? I mean, certainly that was the case with an Apple television and an Apple car. Right. We can go through a couple other case studies.
It may be. It could be a convenient excuse, which is what some critics say. But like you said, Carl, we know that Apple wants to get things perfect. This shows that it's not perfect yet. So maybe it's hesitating, but it could also help explain why Apple hasn't spent the same kind of billions and billions of dollars on CapEx that others have. It's sort of taking a step back, watching this efficiency race play out before jumping into sort of these bigger models that at the end of the day may not actually be smarter.
I love how deep you go, Deirdre. Thank you very much, Deirdre Bosa, which is a good preview because Apple's a big story this afternoon, but also importantly for Apple, so are the trade talks between US and China happening in London.
So here's what's happening. A lot of new AI models, especially the ones claiming to be smarter, more advanced, or human-like, are starting to show their work. They don't just give you an answer, they give you their reasoning step by step. This technique is called chain of thought prompting, and it's supposed to simulate how a person would think through a problem. If you ask it a math question, it might walk you through the logic. First, we subtract x from y, then we divide, all the way to the final answer. Visually and structurally, it looks like thinking. But here's the catch. Nobody really questioned whether those steps were accurate. Everyone was focused on whether the final answer was right. That's like seeing someone get the right answer on a test and assuming they understood the topic, without checking if they cheated, guessed, or copied someone else's work. Just because it looks like logical thought doesn't mean it actually is. This illusion is what Apple set out to test. They weren't satisfied with just getting the right answer. They wanted to know, is the model actually reasoning its way there, or is it just mimicking patterns from its training data that look like reasoning? This is a subtle but critical distinction, because if the steps are fake or just stitched together from memorized bits, it means the AI isn't actually understanding anything. It's faking the act of thinking. That's not a small problem. The entire pitch behind these new models is that they're more intelligent, that they can solve harder problems, handle more responsibility, and even assist with scientific discovery. But if the process behind their answers is flawed, then we're building an entire generation of tools on a foundation that might be cracked.
And the biggest thing is they were blindsided when generative AI with ChatGPT and GitHub launched back in 2022, November 2022. I'm told Apple Intelligence wasn't even an idea back then.
Why?
Well, they missed the boat.
But how? I mean, I don't understand. Yeah.
Well, clearly there was philosophical disagreement and philosophical disinterest in the topic of artificial intelligence. I write about how Craig Federighi, Apple's senior VP of software engineering, doesn't really believe in these multi-billion-dollar projects. He tends to try to shut down or steer away from projects of that sort, and AI is something of that nature. AI is quite a bit messy. They're known for their very intricate and well-designed user experiences. AI, sometimes with hallucinations, can take away from that, but I think they didn't think it was going to be as big of a thing as it became today. A lot of it fell on deaf ears years ago, I'm told. But really, this is a company that's known for updating their operating systems once a year. It's known as a company that focuses on the minutia, and they missed the big picture here with artificial intelligence, and it really is a shame. You know, the big picture here isn't the AI capabilities of its devices today. The big picture today is the AI capability of future hardware. If you don't have the core technology, the AI ready to go at a deep level, how are you going to develop products like humanoid robots, smart glasses, watches and AirPods with depth sensing cameras for AI purposes? Can't do any of that if you don't have that technology. So they need to seriously turn this thing around quickly, or they're going to be in big trouble. This is as core a technology as the touchscreen.
Wow.
I mean, first of all, how many words is this story, dude?
6,000.
Yeah, this is a long, well in-depth story, folks. So if you want to get smart on AI and Apple, you got to read this story. It's in the Bloomberg Business Week. It's on the terminal. I'm sure it's everywhere else as well. Mark, what can they do? If I'm an investor, that's the only question I have for Tim Cook. Can you guys catch up and get some of that AI pixie dust in your stock?
Yes, they need to make acquisitions, and they need to up the percentage of that R&D budget tied to AI. They need to up that percentage. They need to allocate more of their hires to AI as well. So they need to go big or go home on this. And I think...
Do they know that, do you think?
Yeah, of course they know that.
Okay.
How do they go big?
You got to spend more money. AI is really one of the only things that you can buy your way into when it comes to this technology, right? You can buy your way into it. You just need to throw billions and billions at AI training. They need to make probably some tweaks to their privacy policy, right? They have so many devices. They have more devices than anyone else as a single brand of a hardware company, of any company in the entire world, in the history of the world. But they don't leverage that because of their privacy stance. So maybe make some tweaks there to be able to collect some more data, maybe figure out a way to convince people to give up some of their data for this purpose. And I think that could go a long way for them. So spending money, collecting more data.
Is there somebody out there that they could buy, should buy, that would leapfrog them, do you think?
They hate doing that though, right?
Well, the problem is this philosophical disgust, I would say, to making these large acquisitions. If I told you, I mean, you know this is true, so maybe you're not a good example, but if I said to someone who didn't know the company as well as you two, would you believe me if I told you that Apple's biggest acquisition in the history of the company was $3 billion?
I actually believe that.
Well, you believe that because you know that. But I think if you ask people who didn't know that, that would be completely unbelievable. They make these small acquisitions. And in addition to not wanting to spend big bucks on a company, they're really poor at integrating companies. The Beats integration, integrating all those engineers into the company, disaster. Intel, they bought the modem unit for $1 billion back in 19, disaster. What is it going to feel as an AI person at Apple today if the company buys your replacement to bring them in? It's not going to be fun. There's enough turf wars as it is at Apple. So
if they do then have to do it internally, they've still not done well at that.
They've got to do both. They got to make the acquisition. They got to just deal with that. They got to make their biggest acquisition ever, and it has to be for AI, maybe multiple acquisitions. They have to turn things up a notch internally as well. They're going to be making changes. I mean, there's so many philosophical disagreements. The biggest is about chatbots when it comes to AI. They are allergic to AI chatbots. They don't like the technology. They don't think OpenAI has staying power. So yes, I know.
I made a face when he said that, by the way. Okay.
You're going to see deeper integrations with other companies. You're going to see Google Gemini integration. I think next year you'll see Perplexity integration, maybe some Anthropic integration, maybe some Microsoft integration, but they're going to keep pushing, and this is going to be a multi-year thing. The biggest problem is they were caught off guard when this happened, so they had no head start on this. They're coming way from behind.
Now, my next guest has been a fan of Astera Labs for some time now. In fact, she introduced us to this stock a while back. Spirit Leads investor, founder, chief investment officer, Ivana Dalevska. Ivana, now, are you happy with what you just heard from the CEO?
Absolutely, Charles. So thanks for having me. We really like Astera Labs here, especially post this pullback. I think many investors don't understand exactly what the company does, which is why you see this more violent volatility and swings. But if you can find good entry points, this is a really good company to own for the long term.
These are some of the things that you talked about of being a pure play. I like this part. Several products have 100% market share right now.
That's right, Charles. So the PCIe Express that you mentioned earlier and that the CEO referred to has close to 95% market share. So when you talk about competition with Broadcom and other players, everybody is working on different parts of the value chain. So they're not necessarily competing with each other. So they have a very strong market share in this particular product. And then the Leo and Scorpio, those will be products that will ramp in the second half of this year and more in 2026. So
it sounded like he's got a great relationship with his customers, but it sounded like it wasn't a lot of customers. You talk about customer expansion.
That's right. So a lot of these products are brand new things. So they first started with NVIDIA on the PCIe Express retimers, right? And then they're expanding further into other customers. So we think that now their number 2 customers is approaching the size of NVIDIA, and number 3 is not too far behind. So as they expand the customer base, you're going to see a lot more stable earnings rather than what we've seen.
I got to ask you about this. I asked him about this Apple paper I saw over the weekend. It got a lot of traction, right? Essentially boils down to maybe this whole AI thing. At the moment, it's just mostly smoke and mirrors. What do you say about that?
Well, I think it's a very interesting thing, this concept of thinking AI. I think we're very far from the point where AI can think. We're going to have to deploy significantly more GPUs to get to that point. We are at a point where...
Is that AGI or ASI?
Well, it's actually like this would just be the second layer of iterative AI. So it's really like step 1 was generative AI, where like you prompt ChatGPT and it gives you a reply. Now it just does few more iteration, which is what's really used in the agentic AI models. But to get to like where AI can reason, like the AGI or one of those more advanced stages, I think we're at like 10 years, really? 10 years behind.
So rest comfortably. It may take our job, but it won't. It will still need us around.
Exactly. It really works side by side to humans, and the new things that you're going to see introduced over the next 6 months is really going to be how they're going to help you do better, be better
Thanks
at
for
your
watching.
job.
If you want more in-depth breakdowns on the AI war, tech drama, and what's coming next, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The future is coming fast, and it doesn't care if we're ready.